crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Good morning, Bix Weir, road-to-road.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee. All right, there's so much going on in silver behind the scenes. I know newbies are like, oh my God, silver fell 50 cents. Better way to look at it is say thank you to the riggers. Thank you for bringing silver down 50 cents. Now I can buy a little more. The reality is behind the scenes, they are going freaking bonkers. And I'm going to show you a few signs of this. A lot of it is in the shadows. I get it. But when you've been in this market long enough, you've seen these criminals run around with their heads cut off behind the scenes and say everything's fine above the level of, hey, look at the price, everything's fine. Silver's trading at half of its all-time highs. There's no problem with silver. It's just price. That's all. That's the only thing that is holding silver back, price. And that's price is determined on the COMEX, which is a futures and options exchange, 100% rigged and controlled by the computer programs written by Alan Greenspan in the 70s, 80s, 90s. It's been under control for a hell of a long time. Before the computer programs, Charles Savoy has discussed and written a gigantic piece called Silver Stealers. It goes back and literally digs up all the dirt out of newspaper articles, magazine articles, silver suppression going back about 170 years. So this is a big deal. When this ends, it's a big deal. And everybody is going to be affected, completely affected by a true fair market value of silver in the $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 range. We don't know what silver's fair market value is, just like we don't know anything's fair market value because of these manipulated exchanges. Now, the United States government says, we have the CFTC and the SEC to control our markets. They run cover for the market rigging. That's all they do. That's the only reason they're there, to run cover and take out people who might challenge that. Talk to Reggie Middleton about that. The inventor of Veritasium, he invented peer-to-peer exchanges that was being implemented in Jamaica and in the German stock exchange before the SEC came in and literally shut them down in the most ridiculous way possible. You think, Kim Kardashian was attacked by the SEC. Look what they did to Reggie Middleton. These people are evil. Gary Gensler, the head guy up there, is beyond evil. He's literally destroying cryptos so that the bankers can get in. He wants to declare everything's a security except Bitcoin because he gets to decide. We need to remove regulators, not increase their power. It will come with the crashing of the system because of what they've done in the past, that built this massive derivative bubble. There will be no regulators in the future, which is great. Everything will be decentralized. Yes, it'll cause havoc, but that's what the regulators do. They stop the free trade, free exploration of what a true price should be, especially in the commodities markets. So silver, $24 is a joke. But what are these big riggers doing right now? They're going after the moving averages. 50-day moving average is 23.66. 100-day moving average is 24, and the 200-day moving average is 23.11. Doesn't matter. We're talking a couple dollars to the downside with tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars to the upside. I don't have a problem with that. Go ahead, rig all you want for as long as you want, because one day they won't be able to. I want to show you a few things that are going on behind the scenes. First, as far as it's not a silver delivery month, but next month is, it doesn't really matter much anymore. What matters is the exchange for physicals. There was another 2 million ounces, as you can tell right here, exchange for physical. These are contracts taken from the COMEX and moved over to the London cash market for delivery. So another 2 million ounces gone to start the month. Again, not much is going to go on, but a lot more goes on during the month now than at the beginning of the month. Beginning of the month, it used to be in the old days, everybody would deliver most of their contracts within the first few days of the month. Not anymore. because the COMEX doesn't have it. Basically, where your silver is important. The inventory is declared by the banks like J.P. Morgan and Brinks and all that stuff is a lie. It's a complete lie and total lie. It's paper shuffling, and there's no laws that the regulators are going to use to say, hey, prove to me that you have 100 million ounces in your warehouse. You don't have to prove anything. No, it's up to you to report whatever you want, and that's kind of part of the problem. But there are many clues as to what's going on. I talked yesterday about the new silver whale that Ted Butler had identified, 50 million ounces. A lot of people saying it's this. China's monster silver buyer revealed. So really good discussion here about a company in China called China Qingtong Holdings Group. And this is a company owned by the Chinese government that is the largest importer and warehouser of silver. And literally, it is controlling the Chinese silver market, and it very easily could be the big whale. I don't think it is. I don't think the Chinese want this game to end. I think the big whale wants it to end. I don't think the Chinese do. Remember, unbacked fiat money, the unbacked fiat money system we're in right now, China's winning on all accounts. They are winning. As Trump says, we'll be winning so much. China is winning because of the unbacked fiat monetary system. They're not going to throw a wrench into this at all. They want to run as long as possible so that they could get the bigger upper hand. It's like every year, the upper hand. Wouldn't you like to be China or the United States or any country that can print money and buy assets? How much Bitcoin is China buying? Nobody knows. How much Bitcoin is the U.S. government buying? Nobody knows. I think they have the Satoshi Bitcoin. How much silver does the U.S. government have? Nobody knows. David Ryder of the Mint said, we are stockpiling silver. He calls it adding to the nest. And they have been for literally decades. How much silver does the United States have ready for the new monetary system? I don't even know. But it's a hell of a lot less than the gold they have, because they have massive amounts of gold ready to be introduced as money. We just have to get through the bullshit. So, really good discussion. I will put a link below to this. It's a story from China that was written in Chinese, had to be translated. It talks about this massive, this would be the world leader. Qingtong Precious Metals is the world leader in physical silver as far as warehousing, manufacturing, trading, holding, you name it. They control the market. So is it the long? I don't think so. I think it's Buffett or Elon. Either one has every reason to buy as much physical silver as possible now. But then again, you don't really want to do it on the COMEX because you can get taken out easily. All right. All this has to do with this. This is the supply and demand of silver from the world's most corrupt, or actually they're really dumb. A dumb institution. I don't even know what to say about these guys other than you got to read their report because it's the only annual report on silver. It's a World Silver Survey by the Silver Institute. I don't think they're dumb. I just think they take their numbers from last year, they make a couple calls, like to Jeffrey Christian, and then they adjust them, which is ridiculous for a million reasons. The most ridiculous part about it is these numbers now make no sense. After you do that for long enough, it's like the CPI data. The inflation data in the United States, they just work off the last month's lie and lie again. And pretty soon, the numbers make absolutely no sense. So even according to the numbers here, the supply and demand numbers, we are massively short silver and have been for 3 years. And they project this year, even though it's not as bad, they're projecting 142 million ounces of silver shortage. 142 million ounces silver shortage. Where's that going to come from? The COMEX? Yeah, I guess the COMEX data says everything's disappearing. It's all going to China and India. Oh, by the way, look at the numbers here. They are saying that Silver for 2023 is going to go silverware is going to go down 24%. Why? Why would silverware go down 24% compared to last year? Why would jewelry go down 15%? These are all plug numbers by these criminals at Silver Institute who work for the big banks. Jeffrey Christian, probably all these numbers came from Jeffrey Christian. And mine production, they are already way off. They say there's going to be an increase of 2%. Look at mine production for the last 9 years. In 2014, 882 million ounces. Look at this. Look at it. It's just going down. The forecast was 842 million. Now, one of the largest mines in the world has since, silver mines in the world, they call it the second largest. The first largest is 3 mines put together. But the second largest, the Pensacola mine in Mexico, owned by Newmont Mining, has already gone offline. They have a worker strike that is not going to be resolved. It's been 2 months, and they produce 2.5 million ounces every month. They had to declare force majeure. This is all going on behind the scenes. Now, you always know when the silver derivative side is in trouble because they'll pull out this guy, Jeffrey Christian, to explain away the problem, which they did again. Jeffrey Christian went on Monex yesterday, and listen to what he had to say.
The strike and force majeure at Penasquito probably is not anything that's going to disrupt the market. And if you look at the last 40 days while the mine has been on strike, what you see is, COMEX inventories are about the same. London inventories are about the same. There's 850 million ounces or so in London. There's about 275 million ounces in.
You notice how he's so jittery when he tells lies. He's just jittery. Yes, they're not going to change the numbers because they get to control the numbers. He says that number 2, I think it's number 1, but number 2, silver mine in the world going offline is not a big deal. When we already have a projected 140 million shortfall, it's probably about a $500 million shortfall, truthfully. If you really count what's going on with the Chinese buying of silver, everybody and their mother is buying silver, except the price doesn't change because of the derivatives.
New York, most of which is eligible but not registered with the COMEX. So there's a lot of silver lying around to compensate for it. There may be some tightnesses in the market because there'll be companies that say, well, I've contracted to buy that silver from Newmont, and now I have to go into the market and find 2.5 million ounces a month elsewhere. So there'll be some...
That's interesting right there, right? Newmont's already sold this metal. They declared force majeure means they don't have to give it to the person downstream. 10-1, Newmont sold it to like JP Morgan or Bank of America, who used derivatives to continue the con. The downstream derivatives, the counterparty of those derivatives, get thrown into haywire, and all of a sudden Bank of America or whoever is getting this silver has to figure out, oh shit, I was supposed to get 2.5 million ounces a month from this contract that I signed with Newmont Mining, and that's gone into the shitter. So I have to change my derivatives downstream. And every derivative contract has another derivative contract added to it. There's a buy and a sell. So it's getting squirrely, and it will continue to get squirrely, especially in Mexico, because the Mexican government has finally said no more of this bullshit. This mine, yeah, it's the biggest in Mexico. But what happens when they shut down the entire Mexican silver production? Jeffrey Christian's friends are all going to say, it's force majeure.
Tightness and some congestion, but you haven't really seen a major impact on the price, and you probably won't. Now
you won't because it's rigged on the derivative market, on the COMEX. That's where the price is set. Every day, literally, you can see how many fake contracts are traded every day. Yesterday was a small day, so 5 times it's 150 million ounces traded in a single day. I've seen days where there's 2 billion ounces traded in a single day of derivative contracts to set the price. It doesn't matter how much silver there is. It does not matter. They set the price on these crooked exchanges. Let's hear a little more of Jeff explaining it away.
After it, but let's talk about force majeure. Force majeure basically means an act of God. And most contracts have force majeure clauses in them. And the International Swap Dealers Association agreement, under which most commodities trade, have about 5 different places where you can say, oh, something's happened and I contractually can't deliver.
That's true. The ISDA, they were so far over their skis during 2008. Blythe Masters came in to change all the rules, allowed the force majeure on everything. What I think Jeffrey is doing here is getting everybody ready for more force majeures, or maybe the massive force majeure on the COMEX. And as he says, it's never happened on the COMEX, but it could. I think that's what he's getting ready for. So go check it out at Monex, Jeffrey Christian on parade. Here's something that I used to talk a lot about. I haven't talked a lot about it recently, but it's so important. The amount of gold available for sale. If a bank or a large holder of the gold gets in trouble. For example, JP Morgan have massive amounts of gold. Citibank has massive amounts of gold. HSBC has massive amounts of gold. When they get in trouble because of their derivatives, let's say, they're going to have to liquidate everything they have. Everything they have, or they go belly up. Or in the process, will go belly up. Liquidate, and what you liquidate first is the easiest assets to liquidate, so they'll all be liquidating their gold. Unless you don't have to. Now, commercial banks don't have to, but they're kind of forced to by certain market rigors. But imagine when we do have a banking collapse, what's going to happen to the gold market? All the banks are going to be selling massive amounts of gold just to stay solvent. You're going to see a massive amount of gold come onto the market. Whereas there are no banks that hold silver. Now, JP Morgan did at some point hold 1.2 billion ounces of silver. That's been leased to Bank of America and sold into the market. That's gone. As far as I know, there's no way to get that silver back. Where'd it go? Well, we've had 3 years since the silver squeeze, and that's when it all started with the Bank of America leases. So I think, Warren Buffett, China, Elon Musk, they got the physical. They don't care about what happens next. So as the world implodes, gold should take a massive hit. And they'll try to push silver down because of gold, silver's going down. They do that a lot. But that only happens if the COMEX is up and running. If we do have a derivative crash, the COMEX derivatives are one of the first ones to go. So we could easily see a world in which gold is being sold everywhere just to stay solvent, and silver has no sellers because nobody in that banking world has any silver. Central banks have almost zero silver. I think governments have some silver for the military, but I don't think that'll be the last thing that governments sell. Just another reason at 80 to 1 silver gold ratio, I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know many people at all who hold any gold. They've already swapped it 80 to 1 for silver. So keep that in mind. And I'm not even counting all the secret gold that's out there. I do believe the U.S. Mint has massively more gold ounces ready to go out for the new monetary system than they have silver ounces. So that's just another feather in the hat for silver. Now, here's an interesting fact. A lot of people talking about the BRICS going on to a gold-backed currency. And I've talked about this a little bit, but who's the winner in that situation? Whoever has the most gold, right? Yeah, go do what you want to do. And I know that it's going to be valued in ounces, but those ounces, how are you going to value how many ounces of gold, or it might be tons, probably ounces. How many ounces of gold is let's say a ship full of oil worth? Everybody in their mind is not going to be able to calculate that. They're going to say, oh, well, you got to convert it to fiat money first. And people are arguing, no, it's not converted. Fiat money is not going to matter. Okay, then what is the purchasing power of an ounce of gold? What does it buy you in what market? And is that true of every market? See the problem? And what happens when massive amounts of gold come into the market? I mean, what if there's 10 times the amount of gold that they say there is? I mean, China right here says they have 2,000 tons of gold. Except Jim Sinclair has been saying for the last 25 years that China's been taking 2,000 tons off the market every single year for 25 years. So shouldn't this be 52,000 tons? 52,000 tons of gold? And then what does that do to the overall? All the numbers that the gold... Here's a classic. This is the gold.org, the World Gold Council. They can't even keep up with what they're doing now. They've lied so much they don't even know on their own website what's going on. For example, under Gold Facts, they have 187,200 golds, ounces or tons of gold have been mined since the beginning of civilization. And I was like, wait a minute, it's well over 200,000 now. I mean, I remember that number, but it was like 10 years ago, right? So they have this on their website, and I'm like scratching my head going, where do they get 187,000 tons of gold? That's so wrong. I go farther into their website, something that was just produced in February, and look at this. Best estimates currently available suggest that around 208,874 tons of gold have been mined throughout history. So they're off by over 20,000 tons. How do they keep track of this shit? It's all made up. It's kind of like the, where are they? So supply and demand numbers. It's just ridiculous. The World Survey for 2023. The whole thing is blowing sideways. And this article published in China is very, very interesting because it just shows how important silver is to the Chinese. Obviously, they make all the electronic stuff. They have to be the number one controller of the silver price. So JP Morgan, stand down, my friend. You ain't my friend. Anyway, people ask me a lot about timing. I think we're going to see a lot more banks go down. Again, last Friday, Heartland Tri-State Bank went down. Nobody talked about it. It wasn't announced in the news. A big part of that was like 45% of the assets had to be, the FDIC had to pay for. 45% of the total assets were underwater. And the FDIC had to pay for it. So they bailed out through the back door a few massive depositors who had too much money in there. Again, but nobody was talking about it. It wasn't even in the Wall Street Journal. So watch this Friday night, see how many banks go. Let's watch every Friday night and see how many banks go down. I would guess 2 or 3 this Friday, 5 or 6 the next, and then we're talking tens, hundreds of banks by September because they're all underwater. That's where we're headed. Again, it's kind of a hard date. I think the good guys are looking at, and that's the date that JP Morgan is free to rig the silver market again, September 20th or 22nd. I'm not sure which one of those, because both are mentioned in the contract, the deferred prosecution agreement. This is the 3 years ago when JP Morgan got busted for rigging the silver, gold, and treasury markets. They signed a deferred prosecution agreement promising not to rig for 3 years. But after that, they can rig all they want. So they gave it all to their customers. That's why every month on the COMEX, it's JP Morgan customers that have all the action. They said, okay, it's just shell companies, really. They don't care about making money. What they care about is controlling the system. So that's one of the hard dates for the good guys to take down the bad guys. And that's not far away. That's like less than 2 months away. Get your silver. Yes, they can put it to minus $40. Everybody laughs at that. They didn't laugh at it when they did it to oil, right? I guarantee you JP Morgan was involved in that. Because the COMEX is fake. The prices are derivative prices, fake derivative prices. And Jeffrey Christian's saying right now, get ready for force majeure all over the place in silver. I can see it happening sooner rather than later, before the end of September. So hang on to your hat. At roadtoruler.com on the public side, make sure you sign up for the free public emails. Just put your name and email address in, and I will send you updates almost daily. But here's a list of at the end of 2022, the last time that the the U.S. bonds the U.S. treasuries were depressed, shall we say. They're worse now than they were. This is when $660 billion of assets held by the banks were underwater. I think this report for the second quarter will be higher, and that comes out at the end of August by the FDIC. If it is higher, we all know what happened in the first quarter after this number was announced. People ran into their banks and pulled their money out. If you have over $250,000 in a bank and don't have a bunch of beneficiaries, that adds to the total amount. You will lose it. You'll lose everything. I know it's hard with big companies. It's like, what do I do? And the word was a lot of people going to the big banks because the big banks will be bailed out. But in actuality, people are even leaving the big banks because why would you keep your money in JP Morgan, who's the largest derivative holder in the world? Because they'll be gone. They'll be instantly obliterated in a derivative meltdown. And if you think there is a battle between the good guys and bad guys, which I actually know, JP Morgan would be the bank to take down the rest of the system. Anyway, on a crypto note, the evil henchman himself, Gary Gensler, SEC sues entrepreneur for allegedly defrauding crypto investors out of millions. CNBC Crypto World. CNBC. Well, this is. I guess the SEC is going after this thing, WorldCoin, which scans your eye retina, which is just, oh my God, really? I mean, at some point, you got to tell people, you really want these evil banksters to hold your DNA, your eye scan, everything about you to control your life? I mean, we're talking 1984 on steroids. 2024 is 1984 on steroids if you do what they say. And I'm hearing people are actually seeing these eye scan things. Talk about a dystopian world. I think Gary Gensler going after these things is going after his own people, the controllers. So yeah, do not invest in WorldCoin. I know they're going to give away a lot of money. I get that, but what would you sell your soul for, right? Insane world. We live in an insane world. And then finally, WorldCoin, the cryptocurrency that wants to scan your eyeballs. After 3 years in development, digital ID platform WorldCoin officially launched on Monday. Co-founder OpenAI Sam Altman, WorldCoin aims to provide its users with verified digital identity. This is the guys like Dick Allgaier talks about. This is that kind of world. You really want to live in that kind of world? I say every eyeball scanner you see, take it out. Smash it with a hammer. I am not calling for a revolution yet. Sneeze and accidentally spray paint on it. So it can't read eyeballs. People don't know. They're just going to do, hey, these guys are going to give me $100 if I scan my eyeball. Go for it. It's just scary shit. Anyway, you want more info, go to roadtoruta.com. Hit subscribe today. And we are currently, at least right now, this won't, I am thinking by September we will not be giving away the Ruta coins anymore. We'll find out. If silver approaches $30, that's when it'll go 30, 50, boom, gone. So I think this subscription will pay for itself. We send out one silver Ruta coin, really cool coin, double struck, heart painted because it is such a favorable future, the one that the Road to Ruta theory is promoting. No more control over your lives. Yes, it'll be daunting to get there, but when we're there, we'll have gold and silver as money. No more wars, all that stuff that fiat money has destroyed us. And we're going to take back our sovereignty in the United States, and the rest of the world can follow or not. Up to you guys. But at least half the country is ready to do this right now with the current government. I think it's more like 3/4 of the country, but the evil cabal owns the media, so you don't know that. So anyway, go to roadtoruta.com, click on subscribe today.